Hello everyone, welcome to Qlikview. This is Prabhu. In this video, we are going to talk about how to add dimension and measures to the extension. So in the last video, we have created a basic template for the extension with the help of script.js and definition.xml file. And in the definition.xml file, we haven't added any property. If you look at the Qlikview extension, if you go to the property, so it is showing a couple of options like general, dimension, expressions, etc. So when we haven't added any property, then it will automatically show some default properties here. What we need to do here is we need to add some property. For this, I'm going to refer the Qlik help document. So I will provide this link in the description below. So this documentation explains what all the content or possible content can be added in the extension definition file. So we have already added the extension object. This has a couple of properties, and similarly we have other options as well. So for dimension, measures and other things. So let's copy the dimension one and let's add it here. So we have a couple of attributes. So within these attributes, we just need label and initial. So all the other things is not required, but I will explain those things in later. So we have a label property. We need to give a label for this dimension. Let's give dimension 1. Let's save this, and if we go to the Qlikview, and we need to refresh the page first. So if you look at here, that dimension, whatever we have added there, it is showing up here, but this is disabled, so I couldn't select this drop down to select any dimension. So what we need to do is whenever we make any change in the definition.xml file, we need to delete this extension and re-add it. So let's do this. Let's remove this extension and refresh the page. Let's add the extension again. New sheet object. Now if you go to the property, you'll be able to select the dimension. So if you want to add one more dimension, you just need to copy this line and just change the label so that we can easily identify the dimension in the front end. Save it, and again we need to refresh the page. So if you look at here, it is showing the second dimension, but we won't be able to select the dimension. Even if we select the dimension, it won't be saved in the backend. So if you refresh the page, it will go off. It won't save. The reason is we have modified the definition.xml file. So we need to re-add the extension, delete the extension and re-add it. So let's delete this extension. And so every time we cannot delete and re-add the extension whenever we modify the definition.xml, right? So that's why we need to fix this dimension.xml. So before creating the extension, we need to finalize what are all the dimension we are going to use, what are the properties that we are going to use it here. So let's add a measure and then we'll add the extension in the page. So I have added a measure. Similarly here also we need a label and initial. Let's save this. Now we can add the extension. If we go to the property, we can see the dimension, 2 dimensions and 1 measure. So I can select the area, and if you look at here, for the measure, we haven't provided any label, that's why it is not visible. So we need to provide a label, and let's refresh it. So again, since we modified the label, we need to delete and re-add it. Let me do that quickly. Now we can add the second dimension, which is area, and we can give any dimension. So I'm just going to give just sum of 1 for now. So that's it. So we have added the dimension and we have added the measure. So if you know how many dimension and measures you need for creating the extension, then you can explicitly mention the number of dimension and measures tags. So if you add 2 times, then it will ask you to add 2 dimensions. If you add 3, then you need to add 3 dimension. So if you don't know the dimension and measure numbers, then what you can do is, instead of adding multiple dimension tags, you can simply mention multiple equal to single quotes. Similarly for the measure. So let's delete this extension and re-add. So if you go to the property, yes, now instead of 1 dimension option to choose the dimension, it will give a plus icon, and similarly for the measure, so that you can add any number of dimension and measures. So you can just click on this button plus. Sometimes even after re-adding the extension, you won't be able to add any dimension or measure, or even if you click on the plus button, it won't show up anything. So that time what you need to do is, you need to save the file and close the entire Qlikview document and reopen it. So after close and reopen, if you go to the properties, now you will be able to see that so it has added the dimension, but it was not visible. Sometimes it might happen because of the caching issue. So you need to close and reopen the application so to properly get the output. So what you can do here is, you can click the plus icon, it will add the dimension, and you can choose the dimension from the drop down. And if you don't want the dimension, then you can simply click on this minus icon to delete it. So if you want to customize the dimension, you can click on this settings, and you can do some custom properties like primary sorting and secondary sorting, sort expressions like that. And you can also provide the calculated dimension here by clicking on this FX icon. Similarly for the measures, so you will have the measures. You can just enter the measure here, and if you don't want the measure, you can simply delete it by pressing the minus icon. Let's see what are all the other properties are there. So apart from dimensions and measures, we have text object, we have property boolean, and we have initial and properties page. So we normally won't use these things much. So the main thing we will be using is this text object. So let's see this. So I'm going to copy the text property and add it here. So if you look at here also we have the label, and we have an option called select label with expression and everything. So we can remove all these things, it's not required. So the main thing that is required here is this type and label. So we can choose the type of the text object. So let's see the text one. If I save it, again you need to delete the extension and re-add it. I'm just going to show it how it is going to look like. So we need to add a label. So this is the text object property. So let's add one more. So let's add one for checkbox, one for select, and one for color. Let's give a label. This is text, this is checkbox, this is select, this is color. So if I save this, if you look at the extension property now, so it is showing the text object. So we can add expression or we can add static text. So this is a checkbox and this is a select, and so select is coming like this because we need to add couple of more properties to it. Let's see this later. So this color, so if you click on this, you will get a color palette and you can choose any color you want, or you can give calculated color. So I couldn't choose any values because I have to delete the extension and re-add it. So before deleting and re-adding the extension, let's correct this select object. So what we need to do is, for the select object, we need to add two more attribute, which is select. So within this, we have to give the options as a comma separated value. For example, if we want to give options like option 1, comma, option 2, comma, option 3. So we can specify here, and similarly for the label, we can just give select label equal to select any. So let's save this, and if you refresh the page, you will see this drop down, and if you click on this drop down, you will get the options. So if you look at here, only that second and third option is visible, the first option is not visible. So sometimes this might happen, so you won't get the properties properly because some bugs in Qlikview. So what we need to do is, so once you added this property page, so if you look at the folder, it has created one file called dyn properties, so which is nothing but dynamic properties.qvpp. So this is nothing but the Qlikview property panel code. So if you open this, so you will see a couple of HTML codes. So this HTML code is for showing this property panel window. Okay, so you can see all the properties that we have added in the definition file. So this file will be created automatically, so you don't have to worry about it. Even if you delete this file, so there is nothing wrong, so it will be created automatically. So in some situations, so what might happen is, if we don't get any properties correct, then we can go and check here. So if you look at here, we have that select property here, and this is nothing but the select element in the HTML code. And if you look at here, we have option 1, option 2, option 3, but instead of option 1, it has given the select any as the default one. So that's why we couldn't see that option 1. So what we need to do is we can simply change this option 1, and if you want, you can add one more value. One, and we can add one more for empty select any. So let's save this. And if you go here, if you refresh the page, you'll be able to see all the options. So these properties will be helpful to customize your extension based on the user need. For example, you don't want to hard code everything, right? So for example, in your extension, if you want to provide a background color, and if the user wants to change it, then he has to go and change it in the code if you hard code any value. Instead, what you can do here is you can provide an option to choose the background color in the property panel. So even if you reuse the extension in multiple applications and multiple sheets, then you don't have to have the same background color for every object. So you have an option to customize the background color through this property panel. So that is the advantage of using these properties. So that this is completely based on your requirement. So we have created the dimension, measures, and the properties. So all these three things will be useful in creating and customizing your extension. So I'm going to conclude this video here. In the next video, we are going to see how to read these values within the JavaScript and use it to create any extension which is useful. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel and provide your feedback in the comment section. Let's see in the next video.